On a dying planet, one of the Guardians from the Green Lantern Corps is running as a voice keeps calling out to him, mocking him. "Run, little man. Your rings follow you like obedient servant." As the rings follow the Guardian, he says, "You think you've won this day, perhaps, but not forever. I have to preserve life in all forms." The Guardian and the rings disappear in a blinding light. In another time, another universe, the Enterprise comes across a dead planet and beams down to explore it. Kirk, Spock, and the rest of the away team find a body, the skeleton with the Guardian with the lifeless rings by his side. They bring the body and the rings to the Enterprise to better analyze what happened. While analyzing the rings, the Enterprise comes under attack from the deadly Klingons. They begin defense protocols when the rings explode from Scotty's lab and seek new ring bearers. Chang of Kronos, you are chosen. Pavel Chekhov of Earth, you are chosen. Nyota Uhura of Earth, you are chosen. Leonard McCoy of Earth, you are chosen. The new ring bearers, still in shock, are caught off guard by a green light. Hal Jordan arrives. "Nice ship. Why is my friend Skeleton on board?" In 2015, IDW Publishing and DC Comics came together to bring the Green Lanterns and the crew of the USS Enterprise together in a crossover titled The Spectrum War. That's right, Kirk, Spock, and Scotty based on the OG Star Trek series. Wait.
This is so sad! No, it's not! Dude, stop hiding your tears. I know you feel sorry for him too.
So based on the latest Star Trek movies from J.J. Abrams, not the worst. Personally, I would have preferred the cast from Next Generation with Picard, Data, and Riker. But for this crossover, we have a couple different characters you need to know about. Based on the cast from the trilogy of movies including the 2009 film Star Trek and its sequels, Star Trek Into the Darkness in 2013 and Star Trek Beyond in 2016. For the main cast, we have Chris Pine's Captain Kirk, who you guys might remember from his role as Steve Trevor in the Wonder Woman films. Next is his right hand, Commander Spock, portrayed by Zachary Quinto, who some might remember from the Heroes television show, but more recently he actually voiced Lex Luthor in the Man of Tomorrow animated movie. Next we have Carl Urban, aka Scourge the Executioner, aka Judge Dredd, aka Billy the Butcher as the Chief Medical Officer Leonard McCoy. Rounding out the cast we have Simon Pegg's Scotty, John Cho Sulu, Anton Yelchin's Ensign Chekhov, rest in peace to Anton as he unfortunately passed away in an accident in 2016, and last, but certainly not least, we have Lieutenant Uhura, portrayed by Zoe Saldana, who you might know as Gamora from the Guardians of the Galaxy movies, and recently earned the honor of being the first person to be in 4 movies that crossed the $2 billion mark, including the last 2 Avengers films as well as the Avatar films. As far as general Star Trek things you might need to know and understand, Star Trek is set in the 23rd century in the future. Humanity has evolved past earthly conflicts and have come together under the Earth-based Federation. Technology has gone to the point allowing for quicker space travel via warp drive. These Federation starships have set out under prime directives that is best explained by the television series' opening credit.
Space, the final frontier. These are the voyages of the starship Enterprise. Its 5-year mission, to explore strange new worlds, to seek out new life and new civilizations, to boldly go where no man has gone before.
Essentially, the crew is here to explore and learn about the galaxy, but from time to time they tend to come in conflict with other planets and alien species, which we will get to in a little bit. But for now, let's continue with the story. Hal Jordan has come to the aid of the Enterprise as the new ring bearers begin to explore their newfound powers. The Enterprise is still in conflict with the Klingon vessel, now controlled by the new Yellow Lantern, Chang. Chang and Hal begin to fight as the panels take us to the planet Gonar, where the Red Ring has chosen its new bearer, the vicious Glokon. We head back to the Enterprise, where it seems that Hal is having some trouble with Chang. Luckily for him, it seems that Chekhov has picked up on how to use the ring to power up the Enterprise, allowing for a retreat. Kirk tells Hal to come with them, as they have things to discuss. It seems as almost all the rings have chosen a new bearer, except for the orange ring. We are shown the planet Romulus. It seems that Decius is giving a speech to the Council. They're arguing against the Federation's mission of exploration, saying that it's a cover for further expansion. Suddenly, an orange light consumes him, and the orange ring of Avarice chooses Decius. Meanwhile, on the Enterprise, Kirk and Hal introduce themselves, while we get an update on Scotty after his explosion in the lab from the rings, reaching out to the new bearers. McCoy, aka Bones, lets the pair know Scotty's doing fine, but wants to know what's going on. Back on the Klingon homeworld, Chang proceeds to murder the Klingon Council, and take control of the planet and the Empire. He's then greeted by a familiar face. Sinestro comes in, stopping one of Chang's constructs. You certainly seem to strive on instilling fear, I'll give you that. But as long as you're wearing that ring on your finger, Sinestro will be giving orders. Thanks for getting this far into the video, and if you're enjoying what you're seeing, why not give the video a thumbs up? It helps to get this video out to more people like yourself. And as you guys may have seen on many of my community posts and my Instagram posts, not only do I love reading comics, but I'm also an avid figure collector, specifically as of late, the McFarlane DC Multiverse figures. I want to share with you my go-to spot for the latest and greatest figures. Head over to ramfamcollectibles.com, link in the description below. RamFam Collectibles is a veteran-owned business putting the customer experience first with a variety of in-stock and pre-ordering options, as well as fast and reliable shipping for every single order. They care because they're collectors too. And for 5% off your first order, use the promo code RAMFAM5. But for now, let's get back to the video. One of the strengths of this series was the fact that one of the writers, Mike Johnson, worked previously on both Green Lantern and Star Trek, and had discussed in interviews that he wanted to bring a balance to the series by introducing characters that were essential to the story rather than checking names off a list. This leads me to the Green Lantern Corps, one of the mainstays in DC Comics. The Green Lantern Corps was created by the Guardians of the Universe to maintain order and promote the growth of civilization throughout the cosmos. They divided known space into 3,600 sectors and handpicked peacekeeping officers from various locations. Over time, the Guardians developed automated systems and power rings that seek out worthy individuals capable of overcoming great fear whenever a Green Lantern dies on the line of duty. These systems were the rings, and the most famous of these is Hal Jordan, who got his ring after the death of Green Lantern Abin Sur. Over the next few decades after Jordan debuted in DC Comics in 1959, he became a regular on the Justice League of America, and the Green Lantern books are one of the core comics that is in constant publication. One of the more recent but essential concepts of the Green Lantern lore is the emotional spectrum. Based on the emotions of all sentient beings, each color represents different emotions. Green represents willpower, whereas yellow, often considered the opposite, represents fear. Blue represents hope. Red is of course anger. Orange is avarice or greed. Indigo represents compassion, and violet represents love. There are two others that are essential, but represent other aspects of the universe, such as black representing death and white representing life. The crossover deals a lot with these concepts, so here are some things you need to know. Necron is the manifestation of death. Blue lanterns can increase the power of the Green Lanterns. The indigo and violet spectrums are often considered good, but have often come in conflict with the other colors for various reasons. Of course, if there exists good, there must also be evil, which in this universe includes several villains in both the DC and Star Trek universes, which we'll get to in a bit. But for now, let's get back to the story. Back on the Enterprise, overlooking the dead Gkanth, Hal explains the Last Light Protocol, where in a desperate situation, a Guardian would collect the rings of the spectrum together, creating a rift in the universe, allowing the Guardian and any surviving Lanterns to travel to another universe. In Hal's universe, Necron, the manifestation of death, finally succeeded in wiping out all life. Hal also explains some of the basics of the lanterns and emotional spectrums in terms of power, also informing them of the other rings including yellow, red, and orange, warning KIRK and the others that they tend to go to people that aren't so friendly. Meanwhile, on Gonar, Glaucon is ripping through his enemies and is met by Atrocitus, who managed to escape through a portal with the other lanterns. Initially, Glaucon attempts to fight Atrocitus, but rather than kill him, Atrocitus speaks to one of Glaucon's advisors, so that he may learn what happened with Necron. Back on Romulus, Theseus has massacred the entire Romulan Senate and replaced them with his own orange constructs. He declares himself the new leader of the Romulan Empire, but Larfleeze interrupts him. Conquest, as in taking things that don't belong to you. I like the way you think, but your plans will be for naught if you don't have one of these, as he points to the orange battery. On the Klingon homeworld, we see Sinestro and Chang going at it, but the winner is clear, as Sinestro easily bests him, but comes to the decision to help Chang in his conquest, but with the idea that he will owe Sinestro afterward. Back on the Enterprise, after a brief discussion between Hal and KIRK over who's in charge, Chekhov finds Carol with St. Walker in her arms. We now see Glaucon and Atrocitus destroying another Federation starship. As Atrocitus tells Glaucon, "You're learning fast, Glaucon. That was an impressive display." Back on the Enterprise, Bones confirms that St. Walker, the Blue Lantern, is going to be okay, as Carol tells Hal that Necron came through. On the dead Vulcan homeworld, a voice rings out. Rise. Let's get back to exploring some of the characters. Earlier, I spoke about the crew of the Enterprise, but I want to explore some of the other characters from the Star Trek universe that appear in a crossover. We have 3 primary villains and alien species to look at. First, we have the Klingons, who have appeared in probably every Star Trek series from the original to the latest movies. We have Chang, who's making his first appearance in the Kelvin timeline, as he never appeared in the new trilogy of movies, but did appear in Star Trek VI in the original timeline. In this timeline, Chang served the Klingon Defense Force. He held the rank of general by the year 2262. He also commanded the Bird of Prey. Following Captain James T. Kirk's excursion to Kronos in 2259, Chang spent months without cease hunting him down. In 2262, Chang caught up with Kirk in the vicinity of Nodel 16. This is where we see him introduced in the first issue as the Enterprise comes under his attack. Next, we have Decius, Praetor in the Romulan Senate. This is another character with his roots in the original Star Trek series, making his first appearance in the Kelvin timeline. He served under Lenar and participated in the attacks on the Klingons at Kitmar and Konos in the year 2261. Decius survives the fleet's destruction at Konos and returned to the Empire. We next see him talking to the Senate before the Orange Ring chooses him. And last but not least, we have Glokon. Glokon is an alien from the planet Gonar. He is an heir to the Gorn Empire. Basically, he's the heir to the king on a planet and wants nothing more than to gain control of that planet. He seems to be a new character based on the Gorns, reptilian humanoids who have appeared in many episodes of Star Trek. Glokon wants nothing more to dispose of his father in order to take control, and with the help of the Red Ring and Atrocitus, he seems to succeed. I feel this is a good spot to take a pause. In next week's video, we'll finish the rest of the story, go over some more of the characters appearing in a crossover, as well as my overall thoughts. Until then, and as always, take care and have an awesome day. For more stories from the DC Universe, click on this playlist right here.
Beware my power. Green Lantern's light!